culture is a living organism. You need to actively work at it to make sure that you're nurturing it.
Welcome back to another episode of Relentless Life on Your Terms. I have a fellow Cub member, a friend, a business owner, a mother, Emmaline Parry. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me, Chris. I was really honoured to be asked to be here today, so thank you.
Now, we've shared, we do a networking thing together called Club of United Business. We also did a call, which is something that we do together. And after listening to you, I really wanted to have you on the show. I wanted to get you on season 6, but you're about to have your second kid, which we'll talk a little bit about business. We'll talk about personal things and how you've been able to manage both. So first of all, congratulations, you had your second son 7 months ago.
Yes.
You've got a very young family.
Yes, a 3-year-old and a soon to be 8-month-old. So very much in the thick of it, very much enjoying it. And when you say, we'll talk about how you're managing the balance, my answer is not well. But I think with every week that goes by, you learn more. And I think that's just, the nature of being a working mum is that you learn on the go and adapt along the way. So,
There's no books for anything like that. No. I always say, I think the one key strategy that's the most important, in my opinion, is do it with a smile.
Yeah.
Because that oozes enthusiasm, it oozes happiness, increases your, decreases your cortisol levels and really helps in releasing endorphins, which makes it a lot better. So tell us a little bit about your professional career and how you got into HR and stuff.
Yeah, sure. I guess right back to the start, I went to an all-girls school in Melbourne, incredibly privileged St. Catherine's Girls' School. Had a great schooling journey, was heavily into sports and art at the time. And I had a really deep interest in human behaviour. I really love to understand how people think, why they think the way they think, and what makes them who they are. So I guess that started the interest in that side of things early. I then finished school and studied psychology. And I think that was a real blessing, to be honest, to study what I did at the time of my life where things were not so great. They looked great on the outside, which is what I struggle with growing up and going to an all-girls school, is that things can appear to be Stepford wifey and, everything's peachy keen from the outside looking in. But behind closed doors, things were really tough for my family during that time. Studying psychology at the time was a blessing because I was able to not only understand my mum's illness, but understand my reactions to it, understand grief and how that plays out in people. And so I feel like that was kind of a sign from above that you were meant to do what you were doing at that time.
Well, you showed earlier signs, and obviously knowing you, and you lost someone very, very close to you in your family through challenging circumstances, and it can go both ways. But the fact that it enlightened you to learn about psychology and understand a lot about people, I think is a very good thing because you're working on your emotional intelligence.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the thing is, when you go back to the start of the conversation, it was something that interested you anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a very, very positive and good thing.
Yeah.
And you saw that as a way to heal from what I'm reading and understanding.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's certainly, I speak to people all the time within our clients where they say, I don't use anything I've studied. And, I feel really lucky that I would use the knowledge that I gained from when I studied psychology nearly every day in terms of personal and both professional life. At the time when you were going through grief yourself, and my mum passed away when I was 20.
That's such a hard thing.
Yeah.
You said before there was a lot of personal challenges there.
Yeah.
And she passed at 20. And everything's not what it seems.
No.
You've always got to be kind to people because you don't know what people are going through. They might just have a beautiful smile like you do and a lot of people do, but you don't know what challenges people are facing.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, that sentiment that everyone has a story is certainly something that I carried from that point on, is that, you know, people are people and everyone's got their hardships or their stories that make them who they are today. So, yeah, I, like I said, really fortunate to study what I did, and really fortunate to be able to use that as a foundation for what I do today at Mirrored Horizons. So I feel like I've skipped a long way forward, but yeah, I studied psychology. I started in recruitment, so cut my teeth on some really grueling recruitment days where, you know, in my early 20s, way back when, recruitment was tough, really tough. And it wasn't, you know, we went through a phase, you know, I would say about 6 years ago, where recruitment was really easy. You were filling roles, and I'll have all the recruiters shake their heads at me when I say that, but it was. And when I first started, you had to work tirelessly to fill roles. Commissions were low.
That's very lucky.
Yeah.
You started in the best possible position.
Yeah.
So when I started selling real estate, I was selling Brisbane properties for Brisbane-based developer, and there was two-tier marketing. They're getting all these current affairs that they're selling swamps. We weren't, but that was the media and the stigmatism. That's the best time to start something.
Yeah.
When I had a lot of employees start when the market's flying, that's always a challenge.
Yeah.
When you start through adversity, and I've spoke about this before, and companies scale and grow through adversity, it's the best time to start.
Yeah.
You hear a lot of people, they do ice baths in the morning. You start with the hardest thing. It's always a blessing. So when people go into a tough property market and it's really hard and rates are high and money's not easy to get, that is the best time to start, bar none. So although people look back and go, gee, it was tough, I said, how lucky are you to start in that environment? Because it's like starting with the hardest thing. It's only going to get better. You refine your skills. And diamonds are created through extreme pressure. So there's two ways to look at it. This perspective of, my God, it's tough. I looked at it from my point is, wow, how lucky am I? It's the toughest market. My skills need to be better. People aren't going to last. I need to stand out. I need to research. And it actually allowed me to elevate myself. So there's two ways to look at it, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I think hindsight is 2020, isn't it? I can look back on that time and exactly what you said around really appreciate, I guess, the time where it was really challenging. And I guess similarly, we're seeing that now with the shift of young professionals coming into the workforce. We have had a really, candidates market for quite some time where they're walking into roles straight out of uni with high salaries.
Why do you think that is? So, you know, I understand the property market very well. It's what I mean. Why do you think the recruitment game that you're in goes like from hot to cold? And there's an influx of candidates, then there's no opportunities.
Yeah,
why do you think
absolutely.
That is?
We've been in a candidates market for, I guess, out of COVID, and it's shifting because of the economic climate now. And it's coming back to being more of an employers market, I should say. And I think the challenge that we're seeing now for young professionals is that they're suddenly having that, oh my goodness moment of, I've commanded this big salary. I have high expectations on me. I'm not necessarily meeting those expectations, and the market's shifting. So they're holding on to their roles really, really tightly.
So just to confirm, and I've seen this a few times, it's an inflated market in terms of income, and it always corrected. I was with one of my mentors, and his second generation business owner, very, very successful and wealthy man. And the construction project managers were commanding big bucks, much bigger than they were on, or maybe justified. I don't know which way you look at it, but we're talking 50, 60, 80 grand more. It's a lot of money. And I had to ask him, I said, how are you combating this? What are you doing? And his answer was nothing short of genius for me. I thought, wow. So he met with his project managers and he said, okay, they wanted to leave. I got a higher package. No problem. I can match it, or you can stay on your current package. If I match it, when the market turns and corrects, you're the first I'm going to let go, or you can stay where you are, or you can choose to leave.
Yeah.
I said, no way. What did they do? He goes, a lot of them stayed on their current base. Some went up. And what happened? Because when the market corrected, I let them go. I go, how clever. they made the decision to go stay, but he made it very, very clear to them when and if it happens, because it's going to happen, you're the first to go. Isn't that genius?
Yeah, we saw a lot of that, and we are seeing still with our clients now that struggle between paying what the market has been commanding and I guess retaining staff. And government just spoke about recently that if government gets in, they're going to let a lot of people go. And we were talking about how are they going to differentiate who goes? And funnily enough, we've looked into it's going to be the ones that have flexibility written into their contracts. So flexibility is shifting. Candidate market is shifting. Mm-hmm. I think the workforce in general is going to have a big shift over the next 12 to 18 months. That's just by my predictions, but that's not necessarily what we do. We're definitely not, we don't profess to be recruiters. We've gotten really, really specific and I guess honed in on the fact that you have specialists for a reason. You wouldn't go to your divorce lawyer to process your house settlement. And the same applies for HR. So I think we've gotten really specific on how do we still provide a full service generalist HR, outsource model to our clients, whilst acknowledging that we're specialists in the team. So we've got employment lawyers in the team now that we've partnered with. But we as Mirrored Horizons absolutely specialise in how to facilitate positive workplace culture.
Yeah, you told me that and I was fascinated.
Yeah.
The divorce lawyer part's a very sensitive topic.
Apologies, Chris.
I just 2 days ago, actually, I just completed a 2.5-year court case. So I'm very happy. Sensitive, but good. So there you go.
Oh, congrats, Chris. Yeah.
It's been good. It's been great. It's always good to get to the end of something like that. But going back to what you were saying, you segmented your expertise and you brought in other professionals that can complement what's required to bring an efficiency to your strategy.
100%. And I think what we've absolutely acknowledged is that because we play in the space of how to facilitate positive workplace culture through HR practices.
Would you mind sharing a couple things? So just for our listeners, people that have small businesses, I want to get into them, what would you share a couple tips with us?
I guess our model and the way that we work is that we always seek first to understand. I am fed up with consultants that come in and try and tell you that you need to implement X, Y, and Z without having a deep understanding of your business first. So we do something called a cultural audit, which is we come in, we meet with everyone in your business, we conduct focus groups, we send out engagement surveys, we sit in the office over a week or a month period, depending on the size of the business. And we sit in on meetings, we assess human behavior and how people interact with one another. We understand your systems and your processes. And at the end of that audit, we sit down with the likes of yourself, business owners, or directors or boards, and provide a 4-hour deep dive report on your current state of your business and where the opportunities lie to curate that positive workplace culture. And then what we do is provide the roadmap from there, because there is no point in me sitting in front of you and saying, I know you need X, Y, and Z when I don't. I don't understand how your business operates. I don't understand what pain points your people are experiencing. And until I understand that, it's not then I can then recommend
So you say seek to understand. Like it's similar to Reventon, our first appointment with a client, a strategy session.
Totally.
Because I want to understand your motivations, your goals, and what inspires you. People go, where should I buy, Chris? What's a good area? So that's question 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Let's get the first discovery session done. Let's build the foundation to understanding why you want to build wealth. Or in your case, let's get an understanding of your workplace and your culture. So I think that's super, super important. Like a few years ago, we had a goal to win or be certified as a great place to work. And there was a 1.5 or 2 year goal, but we were able to do it in 9 months. And I was very proud a month ago. We were certified for a second year as a great place to work with a 96% rating.
Good on you.
So that was very, very proud.
Yeah.
And it's going back to when we did it the first time, all I cared about was I know we're good at certain things. What can we do better? We went from 81% to 96. And for me, I go, and now I'm looking at that other 4, thinking, and it's not about 100. It's just about improvement. It's about listening to that feedback.
One of the, I guess, the most powerful questions that we ask within our one-to-ones or our focus groups is, it doesn't matter if you're C-suite or you're part of the, customer service team or whatever your position may be within the business, you still get to ask the same question. And that is, if you were to wake up tomorrow and own the business, what is one thing that you would change that would have the biggest positive impact on the business? And what comes out of there and those questionings is your 4%, is your really high.
We asked that question, Tyler. What if a couple of them said the CEO? What should I do then?
Yeah, you pack up your boots, darling.
I hit that question. They wrote the COO, LOL, and I go, very funny, guys. But it's such an important question. But it's one thing doing those surveys, but that's another thing to listen and to action.
Yes, absolutely. So we've got a trademarked equation that equals positive workplace culture. And that is when you have awareness, so that you start with, I guess, having an awareness of the pain points of what are your inhibitors within your business, and also what are your strengths, what are your natural strengths that you can leverage on. When you start with awareness plus clarity plus alignment to the power of commitment, which is exactly what you're talking about, is that, okay, what do we do with this now? We can't move forward unless there is a huge appetite and a commitment from the top. That's just facts.
Buy-in.
Yeah, absolutely. And we, through our audit process and when we sit down to deliver these reports, we will say, until you have commitment to address these things that we've outlined in your report, we can't move forward. And at that point, it's probably not the best business model. But at that point, when people say, hey, there's no appetite there, we're not going to change that, we say we're not for you.
I think it's not a good business model. I think it's a great business model, because if you want to work with someone, you want them to be committed. If I tell a client, this is what we need to do, I need you to come to 6-month reviews. You need to make sure we put an extra $20 in your mortgage if you want to pay it on this. Whatever those commitment pieces are, you need to hold each other accountable, because end of the day, it's a partnership. It's a relationship, you and your clients. And you want to make sure that they understand it. And you want to work with people that take the work serious, that take the outcome serious, that care about their team.
Yeah.
If you're not going to do that, there's a lot of power in saying no to a client.
Yeah, we've divorced some clients. Apologies for bringing that up again. But
that's okay.
We have said, the level of appetite or commitment there is not adequate to the change that you want to see. It's not.
And for that reason, I'm not doing it.
Exactly.
But that's very powerful in a business. And for you business owners at the start, you just want to say yes and get so much more clients and business. But sometimes saying one no can help you get 6 more yeses, because the energy that one client will require.
Absolutely.
I'm forcing a client to do what you've committed to.
Yeah.
No, this is what we've agreed. Yeah. We're in this together. And in anything, there has to be a commitment and an agreement on both parts. The company, the client, the company, the client buying a property.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's got to be, and that's through clarity as well. This is what we're committing to, and we do the regular check-in. So I love that business model. And even if the clients that you lose, they're probably going to be the ones that aren't going to be happy, that aren't going to get the results, or they're going to take up more of your time. And like you said, they're not aligned.
We've just had, and he will listen to this podcast, so shout out to the person that I'm about to mention. But we did a report delivery for him nearly 4 years ago. We sat down with him and we said, these are the people that are holding you back personally, but also holding your business back. So we do workforce planning within that audit as well. And we highlighted the toxic behaviours that were taking place and how they were playing out within the team. He made the decision that he wanted to keep this person on. It's your decision. It's your business. We will support that, and we will do our best to mitigate any, fallout. Yes. And we have only just moved that person on through a incredibly painful process.
That was 4 years ago.
4 years ago. And we sat down with him. He lives in Dubai. So we act as his internal HR consultants, and he works and lives in Dubai. And he said to us, sat in front of us and said, I hate saying this and I will swallow my words and my pride here, but you were right.
I wish I did it earlier.
Yeah. And he said, that has caused me endless pain. And when you identified it, I wasn't ready. I had to come to that, commitment. Like we said, I had to commit on my own terms. And we appreciate that some of the things that we identify within businesses, because it is such a personal thing when you're owning and running your own business, it is going to take you time to get to that level of I'm ready to commit. Yes.
But also you got to remember, fresh eyes is a lot easier to make a decision. Like when you work with someone, you know the ins and the outs of their family, it's a lot harder. So when you look at or you consider someone that doesn't work with that person or like an external consultant, it's easier to pick things as well. But my mentor used to say to me, indecisiveness is a form of decisiveness. What you walk past, you accept.
Yes.
So you need to understand people will see it. You need to make good decisions and you need to give them clarity why you've made a decision. So the more and more that I understand that, and going back to what you said, sometimes you're not ready or sometimes you've been with someone for a long time, but there's a respectful, there's a kind way to communicate that message so they can understand where you're coming from and you transition as respectful as possible. Now, not everyone's going to share that. Sometimes things are going to go bad, but you can only control your behavior. You can only control your actions. So as long as you can hold your head up high and be respectful, I'm always good. As long as I do the best I can. If I get attacked or whatever the case is, or I disagree, or try to understand their point. You said it before. If you seek to understand and you do your best and you're respectful and kind, I'm good with that.
It's interesting when you say, respectful and kind and clarity, and we're using these words that mean a lot to businesses, and we see it. They're striving for that utmost clarity because what we know is clarity breeds psychological safety in the workplace. And it's interesting when you're using these words. We just got told recently that what we do is the soft skills. It's the things that, are really high EQ related. And
emotional
they're soft.
Intelligence.
Yes. And I actually stopped that person in their shoes and said, I'm going to absolutely respectfully disagree with you there, because everything that we do is anything but soft. We deliver it, like you said, with clear and kind messaging, and we always act with, I guess, the utmost integrity. But we're dealing with really, really hard things because we're at the core of it. It's people's lives, livelihoods, people's lives.
Sensitive issues, topics.
It is. Whilst yes, they're sensitive, it's hard. These skills are hard. And the more businesses understand that these aren't soft things anymore. We're not talking about it like, we can leave it to chance and how our culture manifests, we'll just leave it to be. We've got good people, we'll leave it. Culture is a living organism. You need to actively work at it to make sure that you're nurturing it.
And constantly. Because things change.
Yes.
But and I'm very, very fortunate. I've got advisors and mentors I've had for many, many years. And I'm always intrigued and trying to learn how they think, how they communicate. And one of my mentors, if you've been with the company for 5 years, even if you're not in his department, he lets you go personally. And for me, if someone leaves my company, I let them go. I invite every single one of them to a breakfast, lunch or dinner with me personally, just to say thank you. It's always something that I've done because it's a human to human connection.
Totally.
And I always say it's not goodbye, it's until next time. And that next time might be me giving you a hug, saying hello. It might be working together. It might be in a joint venture. It might not be anything, but I'm good with that. If I see I want to walk past, say hello and smile. So I always use that. Now, does it work every time with every person? No. But do I strive to get better and better every day? Because it's important.
My grandma and my grandpa owned their own business. My grandma back in the day obviously was office staff. Grandpa, CEO, had his own office, fancy office.
What sort of work?
It was called APG Printing. So it was one of the first printing companies in Australia back in the day. They did things like the Maya windows.
That's awesome.
Yes. So it was just really interesting that he had that same ethos around if you have someone within your business network, don't ever, I guess, step across boundaries or disrespect them or anything like that, because that person will come back in to the fold in time. So he was really big on, I guess, that respect piece that you...
He's very good with people.
Very, very good.
Which is probably what comes to you as well.
Hopefully. If I could be half the professional my grandparents were, I'll be a very lucky lady.
I'm going to share something I hope you don't mind. And we're at our core and you said something that I loved. You said you love helping small businesses, even though they don't have the money to pay the fees or their whatever your bill is at the time, because they're the ones that really want to make a change.
Yeah, they do.
And you see that they want to have the impact.
They do.
So, and I really like that because I know your heart's in the right place to help people.
Yeah.
The results just work. And it's when you see someone really trying to do well, you want to help them. You want to help them succeed. You don't hear many business owners say that. And when you said that, I thought, I know this is a good human being as well that wants to help people. And it makes such a difference. People like working with people like that. And you talk about, I developed a technique which I used to call, I don't think I've shared this for many, many years if I've shared, called the hard soft sell. And they go, what's that? I ask the hardest questions possible directly to you in a very respectful and kind manner. So there's no question that I'm not going to ask. I can have the radical conversations, as Kim Scott said in her book, Radical Change, which is great.
Yeah.
In a very soft and respectful tone. How did I learn that? Because sometimes I wasn't that soft and respectful.
Yeah.
And although I could close like an animal or a pit bull, the ones that I got wrong, I really pushed the other way. And so I've been removed from a house before because I said the wrong thing once or twice. But I always had a high close rate, but I thought, how can I get better? And it was my constant thirst to communicate better, understand why was that reaction the way it was.
I think that radical candor is such a good point, and we often get called that, or I guess when people describe how we operate, that is how they describe how we operate, is because you're paying me not to tell you what you want to hear.
And that you're a good person. It's going to be fine. Don't worry about it.
To tell you the things that other people won't. And we have done. We've sat in front of directors and said, unfortunately, guys, until the four of you get aligned on how to work collectively together, your culture is never going to be a positive workplace. And from that debrief, we actually had one of the directors dissolve.
Resign.
Yeah.
Well, when you bring that to a head, then the natural outcome is going to be one or two are going to realize, one or two are going to leave.
Yeah.
Or you're not going to work with them.
Yeah.
Because if they want to hear that feedback, they can understand it.
Yeah. So we had the major shareholder said, I am the way I am. I'm never going to change. And it was at that point, through us facilitating that, I guess, radical candor moment for them.
Is he the one that left?
No, he's not the one that left. Another director said, I can't do this. If we're not going to move forward, businesses never stay the same. They either take 10 steps back or 10 steps forward.
It's a living organism, like you said.
It is. So at that point, he said, I'm out. And I guess for me, that was a really important moment in our Mirrored Horizons journey to go, okay, we're not getting a long-term client. It's not going to be a retained, 12-month engagement. But I feel damn proud that we were able to change someone's life trajectory from the information that we fed back to that director.
You changed that business immeasurably. The trajectory from that conversation is great. And as I said, sometimes it takes an honest, hard look for someone to go out. It's like, and I use the analogy, it's easy to see when you're in the ring fighting, it's harder to see certain shots than your coach saying uppercut hook because he's outside.
Absolutely.
And when you read or create a document and you go, how could I not see that?
Yes.
That word doesn't belong there, or you see a slogan and someone just goes,
yeah.
Wow, but it's the same thing. You're not involved in it.
I think that you've absolutely nailed it when you said that, because objectivity is an absolute superpower. And it's our superpower that we come in and we're objective. You live it daily, and everyone that works in the business, it's their norm. Whereas we're coming in with that objective view to go, how can we be better, do better? What's the next step for us? So, yeah, I really resonate with that.
You mentioned the awareness piece, and I always say this all the time. If we know better, we'll do better. So we always do the best we can with the level of consciousness we have at any given time.
Yeah.
So I always say the first piece, and you've mentioned it's the awareness piece. Now, do you have the level of consciousness and acceptance to not hear, but actually listen to that feedback?
Yes.
Then the change will be made.
Yeah.
Now, I can talk people, I can talk HR with you all day, but as it's tradition and a custom in our podcast, are you ready for your quick fire questions?
Oh gosh, yes, okay.
Okay. What is one song that always gets you in a good mood?
Oh, I'm on Fire by Bruce Springsteen. It was our wedding song, and every time I hear it, I'm just, transported back to that lovely memory.
Music's the best.
Yeah.
If you could master any instrument, what would it be?
Oh, do you know what? I'm going to say clarinet because I played it at school and I was absolutely horrific at it. So I'd like to go back and master it just for my own sanity.
What's your favourite meals of the day, breakfast, lunch or dinner?
Oh, such a good question. I eat for fuel at the moment and survival, so nothing really brings me joy. Maybe dinner.
If you could travel to one point in history, what would it be?
Oh, this one's going to strike a chord. It was when my mum was sick, and for the listeners, she battled with a long illness of alcoholism, and she asked me, I was 18 at the time, newly had my license, no one was home, and she asked me after she had several strokes as part of her illness, she asked me to take her to rehab to do physio, and it was in Caulfield, and I remember looking at her and saying, why should I? And I was filled with vitriol and disdain and just, very, very angry young girl. And my mum's face just dropped and she started to cry. And I wish I could go back to that moment and say, of course, I'll take you, Mum.
You know what? I'm sure she knows that is the answer. And you did the best you could in that given circumstance.
Thank you.
And most people would have done exactly the same, because it's easy to look at a circumstance and say, I would have done that. No one lived that life. No one was in those shoes. So when people look at something and go, I would have done this, how do you know? Unless you're in that situation. When something tragic happens and people go, I know what you're going through, I always say, I'm so empathetic. I have no idea what you're going through. Unless you've got a mirror image of that, how could you know? So I'm sure she knows, and one day you will say that to her, I hope.
Thank you.
What's the weirdest food you've ever tried?
Okay, yep. I was 16 on a school trip in Vietnam, and we were doing a painting mural at a school as part of our project. And as part of their thank you to us, they put on a huge dinner. And in the middle of the table was a covered cloche, and they lifted it up and it was dog. And as everyone would know, in their culture, it is highly, highly offensive not to try the food that they have prepared. So as 16-year-old girls, we all ate it.
What's the one thing you're passionate about that might surprise people?
Feminism, to my absolute core. And I will talk to anyone for hours about what feminism is in this current climate that we're living in Australia, where women are dying every single week. If you can't sit in front of me and tell me that you're a feminist alongside me, I don't want to hear it.
And you don't care if it's male or female?
No, anyone. We need allies at this point.
Because a lot of men that believe in that remember fathers, have sisters. So we're on the same team. Coffee or tea?
Coffee all day.
Okay. What's your biggest pet peeve?
Biggest pet peeve, when people think they are more superior than others.
Or all just human beings. What's a skill you think everyone should have?
So many, but critical thinking and active listening.
I thought you were going to say something around the behavioral sense, which is what you did. What's the best vacation you've ever been on?
8 weeks in Italy, traveling around with my beautiful cousin.
It's one place I haven't gone, but I will go and I want to go one day. What's one word your friends would describe you as?
Oh, gosh. I would hope that they would say kind.
Well, from what I've attested, that's what I'd say, kind and generous. If you could eat only one type of cuisine for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, God, it has to be something quick and easy. So let's go Vegemite toast.
Very Australian.
Yeah.
What's the most spontaneous thing you've ever done?
Spontaneous thing I've ever done. Oh, I'm not a huge risk taker, which everyone will absolutely know because I'm a Libran and I weigh up everything in my head before I do it. Spontaneous. Buying our house that we're currently renovating. Disaster.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
One superpower, what would it be? To make people feel the way I see them.
I see them. It's always about them. That's beautiful. And the most popular question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much have you enjoyed being on our podcast?
I love this because everyone goes 11. I'm going to say 100.
There we go. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure having you on the podcast.
Thank you.
Many more episodes to come. Remember, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.